Before you were born, before your name, before the first breath filled your lungs, you existed. Not as a body, not as a personality, but as a frequency, a stream of awareness in the vast field of consciousness. You were not a blank slate. You were a soul, with memory, with intention, with ancient wisdom carried across lifetimes. And no, you didn't arrive here by accident. The parents you were born to, the body you inhabit, the place you opened your eyes to. None of it was random. It was chosen, not because you deserved pain or because life is a test, but because your soul saw something in this exact life. A path, a lesson, a mirror that would awaken what you came here to remember. This life you're living, it's not a punishment. It's a design. One you helped create, before you ever forgot who you were. In the space between lifetimes, your soul stood at the edge of time, not as a victim, but as a creator. It didn't choose ease, it chose expansion. Because the soul doesn't seek comfort, it seeks growth. And growth doesn't come from what's familiar. It comes from what challenges you, what shakes you, what cracks you open to something deeper. You saw it all, the joy, the loss, the moments you'd feel alone, the gifts you'd carry but struggle to believe in, the patterns you'd inherit, and the pain you'd be asked to alchemize. And still, you chose, not as punishment, but as permission. Permission to experience, to remember, to evolve. Because every soul wants to know itself, not in the light where it's easy, but in the dark, where remembering is the revolution. So this life, with all its wounds and wonders, isn't something happening to you. It's something unfolding through you. But if your soul chose this life, why does it hurt so much? Because choosing doesn't mean remembering. You came here to forget, so that the journey of remembering could mean something. Amnesia is part of the contract. It's why we're born crying. Not because life is punishment, but because, on some deep level, we feel the weight of forgetting who we are. And yet, that forgetting is sacred, because without it, there is no story, no transformation, no meaning. A soul that remembers everything doesn't grow, it observes. But a soul that forgets, falls, fails, feels deeply, that soul evolves through experience. So every moment of pain, every question you've screamed into the silence, every time you've whispered, "Why me?" wasn't a sign that your soul made a mistake. It was a sign that you were waking up, that you were on the path back to yourself, not the self others gave you, the one you carried here from beyond the veil. Before you chose this life, you weren't alone. You stood in council, with guides, soul family, energies older than time, reviewing not just what you would live, but why. The key lessons, the karmic threads, the wounds you came to heal, and the gifts you came to reclaim. You didn't come here to be anyone else. You came to be more fully you. But to do that, you had to enter the forgetting, to be shaped by contrast, to meet the parts of yourself buried in the mess of human experience. Because only through that mess, through heartbreak, limitation, and confusion, do you become something new. Not by escaping pain, but by transforming it. The soul doesn't grow through perfection. It grows through participation. And so you chose a life where the exact combination of people, pain, patterns, would serve as mirrors. not to show you your weakness, but to awaken your wholeness. This is not random. It is sacred architecture. Your soul didn't choose this life to suffer. It chose it to remember its power. But that power can't be handed to you. It has to be earned through contrast, choice, and awakening. The moments that broke you, they were never punishments. They were activations. Every breakdown was a door. Every loss a teacher. Every delay a detour back to alignment. And through it all, your soul was never judging you, only watching, holding, waiting for you to remember what it already knows. That you are not just surviving this life. You are sculpting it. You are not broken. You are breaking open. So light can find the places you thought had been forgotten. Because healing isn't about going back to who you were. It's about becoming who you were meant to be. Before the forgetting. That's why this life isn't a prison. It's a mirror, reflecting the soul's own design. And here's what changes everything. You're not just living the life your soul chose. You're shaping it every day. Because choosing doesn't end at birth. It continues with every decision you make, every thought you repeat, every story you tell yourself about who you are. Free will and soul plan are not enemies. They are dance partners. Your soul gave you a map, but you still choose the roads. And in every moment, you can choose to remember or forget again. You can numb out or wake up. You can resist your path or align with it. The point was never to get it right. It was to get real. To stop waiting for permission. To stop shrinking for acceptance. To stop living someone else's script. Because every time you choose truth over comfort, awareness over avoidance, presence over performance, you step closer to the soul that wrote this life with love. Not to trap you, but to free you. You chose this life, but not because it would be easy. You chose it because it would be awakening. And awakening doesn't come from comfort. It comes from contrast, from breaking the surface, from asking deeper questions, even when they hurt. That voice inside you, the one that's always whispered, "There's more to this." That was the remembering, not a fantasy, not an escape, but the truth trying to surface through the noise of a life too small for your soul. You weren't meant to fit in. You were meant to expand, to outgrow the limitations passed down to you, to break the loops, to choose love where there's been fear, truth where there's been silence, and courage where there's been hiding. Because the soul doesn't evolve through imitation. It evolves through integration. So if this life feels heavy, if you've questioned your worth, your path, your pain, good. It means you're awake enough to realize this life is sacred, and that you are the one who gave it meaning. There will be moments when you forget all of this, when the weight of being human feels too much, when your soul's voice feels quiet, and the noise of the world feels loud. That's okay. Forgetting doesn't mean you failed. It means you're still in it, still walking, still becoming. Because the soul's journey isn't linear. It spirals. It returns to old wounds with new wisdom. It revisits old fears with deeper strength. And every time you choose to come back, to pause, to listen, to remember, you create space for grace. You anchor light in the darkest corners of your experience. You remind the world, and yourself, that growth isn't a straight line. It's a sacred loop. A dance between remembering and forgetting, between falling apart and rising new. So if you're in a season of heaviness, breathe. This isn't the end. It's a passage. And your soul knew, long before you forgot, that this would be the moment where you start to wake up. Now you understand. This life, with all its chaos and clarity, its beauty and breaking, was never a punishment. It was a portal, a path your soul chose, not because it would be painless, but because it would be transformational. You weren't sent here to be perfect. You were sent here to remember, to rebuild yourself with the raw materials of experience, to turn loss into depth, and confusion into vision. And now, you stand in a powerful truth. You're not here by accident. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're becoming. Every scar is sacred. Every failure, encoded with wisdom. Every longing, a compass back to your soul's design. And that whisper inside you, the one that keeps calling you home, it's not your imagination. It's the memory of the moment before birth, when your soul looked at this life and said, "Yes, this is the one."